Hi, and welcome to Hanaz Writers Podcast. My name's Charlotte, and I work as a Year 2 teacher in a primary school in London. If you haven't heard any podcasts from Hanaz Writers before, then have a listen on their YouTube and Spotify channels. You can search for them on both websites, and you can start listening to the podcasts that they have available. In this podcast, I'm going to be talking about exams. It is that time of year again when lots of students are getting ready for the dreaded exams and going through the process of taking them. Now, in a previous podcast, I had talked about ways that a student can answer a question or questions. But in this podcast, I'm going to talk about how a person can learn and remember information. So it's like different styles of techniques, different ways to help you to learn and keep facts and information so that you have them ready to answer questions. For lots of students, the next few weeks will be tough. They're going to sit through lots of different exams, different tests on lots of different subjects. I mean, there's A-levels happening, GCSE exams happening. If you go to university or college, you're going to have university exams, college exams, and so on, of course. Even practical exams as well. Those are still taking place. For example, if you're learning how to drive a car, then you'll be taking maybe the theory test or you're doing the practical of driving a car. If you learn how to play a musical instrument, then you might be taking those practical exams to play the different pieces for your examiner. Or if you're doing the theory test again, then you might be sitting a theory test and answering questions on that. And anything that's practical, really, any kind of exam that is practical, where you have to show how to do something rather than how to write it. Now, lots of articles on the online and on the internet, in books, they write lots of tips, hints, and they give you ideas on how to prepare yourself for an exam. You know, they talk about people being nervous, having anxiety, not sleeping well, not eating well before and up to an exam. They might even give you a tip to set up a schedule, learn how to take regular breaks, maybe prepare your learning space, maybe tell you when to sleep, when to eat. Again, that comes with your schedule, and so on and so on. So it's a lot of I find that's more like well-being hints and tips and ideas, really, how to look after yourself during this stressful time. So in this podcast, I just want to focus actually on what kind of techniques you can use to help you to remember things. Now, one of the things that you can do to help you with memorizing information about something, a subject, a topic, or anything, is to just say it out loud. Talking to yourself. I know, it seems like a funny thing, and also people will be like, why are you talking to yourself? Or you can ask someone to ask you a question about it, and you talk to them, which is probably more the route you should probably go down. Because then once you talk to them, you get some feedback, and they can ask you more questions about what it is that you're learning. I mean, you've got your parents, mums, dads, siblings, aunts, friends, uncles, cousins, people around you, especially friends or colleagues. Ask them to ask you about what you've been learning. And then you just tell them about it. I mean, you don't have to sit there and talk their ear off for an hour and so, just so that you've got them fully aware about what it is you're learning about and everything. You can just summarize the topic or the subject that you've learned about in a few sentences to them. And it doesn't take long. I mean, imagine that they've asked you about your favorite TV show. You've watched the series from season 1, episode 1, all the way to episode 12 or 24, whatever, however many episodes are in that season. And you can tell them all about it. You can tell them all about the different characters in the show. You can tell them all about the different storylines and everything because you watched it. You immersed yourself into the TV show, into the lives of those characters, and you've memorized everything about them. And it's because you were interested in it and you really liked it, so you want to be able to tell someone about it and get them also interested. And it's the same thing with your subject and your topic and what you're learning about in school or university or what you're learning about outside in the real world. Get into as much detail as you can and just talk about it. Think about the subject, think about the topic, and then work from a top-down model. Work from the overall subject. What is it all about? And then how do you break it up? How is it broken up into the smaller units that make up the whole? So like I said in your TV show analogy, you explain the overall TV program. What is it about? It's about a family who moved to a new house or new school, and the kids are trying to maybe sort out their lives because it's a new place, new school, they're going to make new friends. The mum and dad are also trying to navigate around different jobs, new things, new surroundings, so on and so on. And that's just the overall view. Then you break it down. You go into the dad details about what he's doing, why he's an important character. Then the mum, you talk about the mum. And then you talk about the children or the aunts and uncles, so on and so on. In my analogy, I'm thinking about Modern Family. There's a lot of characters in Modern Family, I have to say, and it's a lot of different storylines and a lot of different things happening at the same time. But if you watch the show, you know what I'm talking about. It's a lot, but you take it all in. You gather the information from different people, you understand the characters and their situations, and then you break it down into bits and bits. So if someone had asked you, what is Modern Family all about? You could tell them bit by bit. I mean, you don't have to tell them every single detail all at once, unless you're that inclined, but you could just tell them the general overview of a Modern Family. Another way to help you remember something is to use a mnemonic. And this is a little rhyme or a saying that you can use to help you remember a set of words that you can put into a correct order. And the mnemonic helps you to recite it, and you can then use it for your knowledge. It's kind of like a little trigger to help you remember things. One example that I like to use is the colours of the rainbow. And I remember the mnemonic from when I was a kid for the colours of the rainbow and putting them in the correct order. So the mnemonic that we used is Richard of York gained battle in vain, or gains battle in vain, whichever one you want to say. And with this mnemonic, the beginning of each word in the mnemonic is the same beginning of the name of the colours of the rainbow. So you have Richard, which is R, and that colour is for red. Of, and the colour for O is orange. York, Y for yellow. Gains, which is G for green. Battle, which is B for blue. In, which is I for indigo. And then V in vain for violet colour. And then the names and the words of the mnemonic help you to keep the correct order of the colours. So you can remember what colours come next to each other in a rainbow. And then you can draw your own rainbow. You're like, oh, okay, Richard, so red first on the outside. Then you've got the orange. Then you've got the yellow. And then you're able to draw your rainbow, making sure that you've got the correct colours in the correct order. Another technique that you can use to help you remember things is to create acronyms. Lots and lots of different types of acronyms around. An acronym, for those of you who don't know, is when a group of words is shortened down to just their first letters. And then those first letters are put together to make a word or a sound to help you to remember. And then you remember that each letter of the acronym means something. They are each separate words. So I'll give you a few examples. You may have heard, usually you hear these kind of acronyms in the army, or people who work, I guess if you watch FBI movies or TV shows about people going undercover or people in those kind of situations like policing, FBI, CIA, and maybe James Bond movies, those kind of things. Sometimes you might hear an acronym saying that he's gone AWOL, which is AWOL. And that AWOL stands for the different words, which means absent without leave. You could have MIA, which means missing in action. Or if you're a gamer, one I've heard recently is AFK, especially if you play on the computer, and it means away from keyboard. So some people might say, oh, I'm AFK, which means I'm away from keyboard, and I'll just type it into their chat box. I'm not really a gamer myself, but it's things I've seen other people do. And also they tell me, oh yeah, I'm AFK at the moment. And I'm like, what does that mean? And it means away from keyboard. So, they're not there at the keyboard. They've probably gone off to get a drink or something, or left their keyboard and mouse, and their character's not gonna move around for a little while. So each of these acronyms just stands for different words, and they mean different things. But again, they're handy, and they come in handy when you're trying to learn like difficult or tricky bits of information. You make an acronym, and you understand that each of those letters then stand for a word, and they mean something else. Another thing that you can try to do is set a SMART goal. And again, another acronym, SMART. It's an acronym that stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely goals. And SMART goals are there to help you to achieve smaller goals. So if you're studying for a subject and you're just not sure of a certain area or a unit in that topic, in that subject, set yourself a small SMART goal and work to improve your knowledge. And it doesn't have to be a big amount of knowledge. It's just that thing that you're not sure of. You set a specific goal. I want to know what this means. Measure it so that you can, at least be able to tell someone, oh, this means da da da. Make it achievable. So again, you're not going for, oh, I need to know the whole process right now. You can just learn what it is first of all. Make it achievable, and then change your SMART goal afterwards, after you've learned what it is. Make it relevant, so that is what I need to know, and so I'll learn it. And timely, again, it shouldn't take you like weeks. It should probably be a timely goal of 1 or 2 days. Another thing that you can use, different technique, if you're not that inclined to use acronyms or SMART goals, or you find it tricky to set yourself them, then you can use maybe visual associations. This is when you create a vivid or visual information or image that's in association with what you're learning. So, for example, if you're learning a sequence of events that need to happen in a certain order, then why don't you try drawing out the steps and then labeling them? Or you can even maybe just visualize each of the steps, and it helps you to then learn them in that correct order. I think I find this quite useful if I am like making food. If you've ever followed instructions on how to make brownies, or how to make a cake, or how to make bread even, you definitely have to see the instructions and follow them in the correct order. Otherwise, your brownies are not going to rise, your brownies are going to be very flat, it might not even taste that good. Or your bread, again, will fall flat, you'll miss out a step, you'll forget to add yeast, or you'll forget to add something, and then it's not really bread at the end of the day, it's just a piece of flat dough. But you can still eat it, but it just won't be what you wanted to make because you didn't follow the steps and you didn't follow the how to do it. Another thing that you could do, mind maps. They're a good technique that you could use if you're that inclined to use mind maps. They can be very helpful. They're similar to visual associations, just with words. The words are all associated with the subject though, so it's not just random words. They are meaningful, and they mean something towards that subject. So, for example, you wouldn't have a chemistry word in a mind map for, say, history, unless it is important that you know that word. Or maybe you need a scientific word for a flower, a name for a flower, and you might not have that. You may not need to use that word in maths, for example. So you use a mathematical word in maths, and then you'll have scientific words for science. You get what I mean. So you will then work out, mind maps to help you to link different topics to different things. Again, mind maps are very nice to use, but it's just very basic associations, word associations. But what it could do, it could help you to link the words to the topic and help you to trigger and remember different bits of information for yourself. Of course, remember that people learn in different ways. So these little techniques and tricks and tips are there for you to decide whether you want to use it or not. I mean, if you don't want to use it, then you don't need to use it. It's not that you have to use it. They're not. You're not being forced to use these techniques. You kind of need to find which technique is useful for you. So then you can learn things. If you find that something doesn't help you, then don't do it. Don't use it. But The fact that we have it available is there for you. Thank you very much. That's all for this podcast, and I hope that you enjoyed it. I want to just quickly say good luck to all of you who are taking exams during this time or doing assessments and practical exams during this time. And I hope that these techniques will be useful to you. Of course, I have only mentioned a few, and there are lots more other techniques that you could use to help you with learning. So if you really are stuck, ask your teacher, ask your friends, ask them, how are you learning this? How are you keeping this information? What are you doing to help yourself? And maybe then they can give you their advice. What do they do? They might even use some of these techniques that I've talked about. They might use something different. So ask them. Any help that you can get is good. So ask them. Don't be upset if they're doing something different to you. As we said, people learn in different ways. I hope that this helps you, and good luck to you again in all of your exams and assessments. If you really like this podcast and you'd like to listen to some more podcasts, then like and subscribe to Hanaz Writers YouTube and Spotify channels. If you're interested in becoming a published author yourself, then visit Hanaz Writers website and sign up. So thank you very much for listening, and until next time, bye.